Let's kick things off then. In a bid to boost his party's flailing poll numbers, Rishi Sunak has pledged to fund tax cuts by curbing benefit spending. Now, in announcing the policy, the Prime Minister also sought to create a clear dividing line between himself and, of course, Sir Keir's Labour Party, who have repeatedly said that taxes are too high, but has stopped short of promising to reduce them. Interesting. But will cutting benefits spending, funding tax cuts win your vote? Right, let's welcome again my head-to-head as social commentator and Car26 director Lois Perry, and also political commentator Matthew Stadlen. Right,
Could I just say before we begin, please?
Right, no. No. OK, what do you want? Go on, say it.
I'm absolutely terrified. I don't mind going up against anyone in these sorts of debates. But taking on you two at the same time is really frightening. So I'm going to admit defeat before we even start. I'm going to set my bar that low.
See, now that's actually quite passive-aggressive and quite clever. Well done, well done. And actually, Nana is obviously completely objective as the host.
Of course.
Although I do have my opinion, so I'll let the objective as I want to be. Right, yeah. Very, very good tactic, Matthew, but we're not buying it. Are you buying it at home? Should we start with him? Why not? Matthew, OK, so what do you think? Will his idea curbing the spending,
It's kind of incredible that we don't quite know what this Prime Minister stands for when we are almost on the eve of an election. And the Tories have been in power. Well, should we deal with...
As opposed to Keir, though, as opposed to Keir.
Look, Keir's got his issues.
Can you elaborate on those?
Go on, sorry. Carry on.
We'll come to Starmer in a moment, if we may. But first of all, on Sunak, is he going to cut or even abolish inheritance tax? I mean, yesterday in this interview with The Telegraph, he's talking about the nobility of work. So if you believe in the nobility of work, why would you slash inheritance tax? I don't think many people are going to be taken in anyway. This is the first major point. Because of fiscal drag, we've all learned what that means. Because of inflation, it means that so many more people are getting dragged into the higher rates, higher bands of income tax. So the idea that this 2% cut of national insurance is going to mean that people end up paying less tax is highly questionable. On the issue of benefits, I think, first of all, people who do work are also often on benefits, as well as people who don't work. But because we've been in this sort of huge crunch in the cost of living and in the crunch of our living standards, if people's benefits start getting taken away as well, they're going to struggle even more. And I think most people, I mean, I may be wrong, but most people watching today will think we should have a sort of civilised base rate at which people are able to live their lives. So will it win my vote? No. And if you look at the struggling public services, particularly the NHS, which we all rely on, unless we can afford private healthcare, and I can't, if we cut taxes, how on earth are we going to improve those services?
Lois Perry.
Well, the thing is, if we don't cut taxes, we're not going to stimulate economic growth, which means that we won't be, that basically we won't be able to afford to pay for any public services anyway. So we need to cut public spending so that we can actually encourage people to actually make money, because who do you think pays the taxes that fund the public services? It's the entrepreneurs, the business people. The majority of the businesses in this country are small businesses. We need to be encouraging them, and we're just not. But before COVID, there was 3 million people in direct receipt of benefits. Now there's 6 million. The whole furlough scheme, which was Rishi Sunak's idea, his whole concept as Chancellor, has discouraged people from taking any work whatsoever. And I've been looking at some figures, actually, and the average wage after tax in this country is 25,850 quid. For a single parent on benefits, they get 22 grand, right? Why would you go to work for 3,580 quid a year? There's no, what's the incentive? And in terms of cost of living, a lot of that could have been completely avoided, because a lot of it is to do with net zero policies, which has pushed up the price of energy, which has crippled not just people's heating bills, but the price of absolutely everything, including transporting food, goods, everything. So, no, I think they should be... I think it's a good idea, actually.
I mean, you've raised a lot of points, and I want to come to the philosophical one in a moment, if I may, about the stimulation of growth. Just on the issue of the lower income a portion of the population, certainly don't think taxes should go up for them, but equally I don't think their benefits should be taken away, because imagine if you are bringing home 22k or whatever it was you just said following your research, if you're on benefits there and those are reduced, you're going to really struggle. On the wider point about growth, I mean, there was this joke about the anti-growth coalition. Do you remember when Liz Truss was Prime Minister for that disastrously short period of time? time.
What, when she was thrown out in a coup?
Well, it wasn't a coup.
Well, it was.
Of course, she helped crash the economy. But
no, she didn't.
Of course, let me just answer the point on growth.
Well, you said she crashed the economy, sorry. You said no, she didn't.
Well, no, she didn't. She just wanted to actually implement the policies that I've just discussed about stimulating economic growth and everything.
And how did that work out?
Well, there was a coalition of all of the... Even Biden put his two pennies in, and all of the big financial institutions ganged up on her and got her thrown out and got their stooge put in.
Why would they want to gang up on her? What was,
well,
this
because they wanted Rishi in. They wanted Rishi in. Rishi was their guy. Absolutely.
I don't think so.
Financial background. I'm sorry.
Look at what happened.
Well, a lot of people think that's what happened.
OK, you obviously do. I don't. Look at what happened to interest.
Yeah, but you believe in net zero.
Look at how we'll come to net zero later. Look at what happened to interest rates. I mean, real people, many of whom, again, watching this programme,
who've had more... Aren't we all real people?
Well,
there were other things at play which caused
let's do it one at a time.
I'll decide. Sorry, carry on, Matthew.
What I mean by real people, I mean in the real world, and we're not just talking about political philosophy here. So many people watching this programme will have had high mortgage payments, and their payments will have gone up. And there is a very strong argument to suggest that this is partly as a consequence of that disastrous period in office of distrust. But I want to answer the point on growth, because it's an important one. You are absolutely spot on.
I'm making important points, thank you.
No, let me finish.
You're absolutely spot on about growth. Of course we need growth. That's what I was talking about, the anti-growth coalition. The question is how we encourage growth. You're absolutely right. If we don't have growth, we have less money to afford to pay for our public services. The question is how we achieve that growth. The traditional
one of the things, Matthew, though, I will say is that obviously if you've got lots of people claiming benefits, it's difficult to grow. So you're going to have to curb those to try and stimulate maybe some of those people to potentially go to work, whether they can or they can't. You've got to work out what percentage are potentially able to make money so that you can stimulate the economy in growth. Yeah, if you have a generous benefit system, surely that would encourage people to stay at home.
I don't think anyone could argue it's generous. The vast majority of people who are on benefits need to be on benefits.
Absolute nonsense.
It's not nonsense.
How many people do you know on benefits? Just out of interest, I live in near Southend-on-Sea. How many people do you come into direct contact with every day who are in direct receipt of housing benefit and you know, basically income support?
I'd say without knowing it, I mean, amongst my friends, none of my friends, as far as I understand
it. So you have no concept.
You've got to answer your question. But I live on a street, for example, that is half social housing. So I might not know directly that they are on benefits, but they will be. But if we're going to talk about this...
So what's the answer, though? How many people do you know?
I don't know.
It doesn't know any.
But you're going to say anecdotally that you know a lot of benefits cheats, do you?
No, not anecdotally. It's not anecdotally. I've got... My background's quite interesting. I've got the posh side and I've got the other side of my family, right? OK, I know that people are on benefits because they want to be on benefits and have have multiple relationships with different men with no intention of staying with them because they know that it's going to be funded by the state. I'm sorry, Matthew, you do not know what you're talking about, but I really do.
You've got friends who are deliberately trying to cheat the system in your view. Family members.
No, they're not cheating the system because the system is what it is and it's completely legal. I'm just saying that you don't know what you're talking about when you say people who are on benefits, you know, they need to be on benefits. No, they don't.
No, and when so what should happen to these people? What should happen to these people you're talking about? These family members. Your family members. Okay.
It should be a safety net.
Your family members should be allowed. Okay, exactly. I agree. So your family members should. They shouldn't be allowed to starve, but they should have to live terribly miserable lives, including their children.
No.
Well, let her answer.
We're running out of time. She didn't say that. But look, I get it. But the point is, what Lois is alluding to, there are some people who are on benefits who shouldn't be. But Matthew is saying that there are lots of people who need to be on benefits. Perhaps the government really needs to change the system so that employers are forced to pay more so that people don't need to sit and languish on benefits. I mean, that's got to be the way.